nag-iipon para sa paglulunsad ng kanyang kahanga-hangang proyektong The Education Chapter.
Everyone, good evening to all of you, especially to our viewers here and abroad.
In all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we hope that you'll be able to join us in our newest Harsh and Kung gusto tayo na tonight, just more.
Everyone, and good morning to other parts of the world, or good afternoon. Now my topic is Alamada Peace Journey, empowering the sustainable development programs of the local government in Alamada, North Cotabato, Philippines towards restorative justice. Actually, this is the second part of my paper last presented in the ABC 21. So, which I talk about the culture of peace, especially the tribe people in Alamada, North Cotabato. So now I'm moving forward to the restorative justice. And my outline for this paper, to this presentation is just a brief background and about the Alamada, the Alamajans, population, religious affiliation, the developmental stage of the Alamada peace journey, the restorative justice, the social development plan, issues and concern and vision, reality gap matrix, and the conclusion. So in this paper, um, the outcomes of the culture of peace led to the vision of Alamada to be watershed area, an agricultural production region, and an ecotourism destination. With its people living in a progressive, safe, healthy, disasters resilient, and sustainable environment governed by God-fearing leaders who are gender responsive. The Culture of Peace created a quality program that resolved problems encountered by tribe people, which is the Christian, Muslim, and Lumads, or the indigenous people of Alamada, especially the peace instability resulting from territorial and ancestral land dispute, identity and cultural discrimination, environmental threats, criminality, and poverty. However, there are still challenges encountered by the local government of Alamada based on the analysis conducted. There are programs needed to prioritize especially the significant issues and concerns affecting the development of the said town or municipality. Some of these issues and concerns are health, education, social welfare services, agriculture, tourism, etc. But despite these issues and concerns, the local government of Alamada found the solutions by creating a comprehensive development plan to address these challenges. The culture of peace is incorporated in every program to make sure of the continuity of peace to avoid the decade-long struggle of Alamada of armed conflicts that notably depressed its people and affected its growth as a municipality. This is the reason why the local government is challenged to take more serious effort to implement a program that can maintain peace and to ensure security of the people. Now, Alamajans are peace-loving people, but they are living witness to the vicious cycle of violence. Peace seems to be too hard to pin down, but that was in the past. Today, a new hope is seen as a result of peace-building efforts by different sectors. People from all walks of life work hand in hand in advancing a peaceful resolution of conflict among the Muslim, Christian settlers, and indigenous people in the area. So the Alamajan believes that the peaceful dialogue is the key to understanding and respecting one's differences, rights, and culture. The gap among the tribe people of Alamada will be resolved through listening and learning from one another. It put an end to the conflict. They're promoting total human development. So this research is Alamada Peace Journey that mirrors the quest for peace and development towards restorative justice through infrastructure, health, education, environment, livelihood, and peace order, and other programs of the local government of Alamada. So, brief about Alamada. It is a municipality of North Cotabato, Mindanao, Philippines. Okay, and the municipality was created pursuant to the Republic Act 5645, which was passed by Senate on May 20, 1969, and the House of Representatives on May 22, 1969. Its name was adopted in memory of and in honor of the late powerful ruler Dato Amaybulyok Alamada. He was the leader who fought against the foreign oppression and tyranny. The Dato was recognized as one of the ferry rulers of the Iranon and the Lanan who were scattered throughout the northern part of the municipality of Pigkawayan, Libungan, Sultan Kudarat and in Kitakobong, which is now the poblacion or the center of the Alamada is the set the seat of his kingdom. The population of Alamada as per by Philippine Statistics Authority in 2015 census is 64,596. 56% classify themselves as Hiligaynon Ilonggos and 23% as Cebuanos and 10% as Iranons, 6% as Ilocanos, 5% as Carayas, 2% as Magindanaos, 1% as Maranaos and Manobos, respectively. About 2% consider themselves as belonging to other ethnic groups. The population is comprised of Christian, which over 71.79 are Roman Catholic. 12.41% belongs to other Christian denominations, while the Islam are 12.42, other indigenous tribal religion or Lumad are 0.77 and 2.62 for other religious affiliation. This is called the tribe people of Alamada. Now, in the developmental stage of Alamada peace journey, as you can see in my slides, in the phase 1, during the mayoral leadership of Bartolome Lataza, he advocates the political will to promote peace in a micro level, and his priority thrusts are peace building, moral recovery, and livelihood. Because you cannot move on to the moral recovery and livelihood if there is no peace building. With the help of the municipal council headed by the Vice Mayor Unigildo Calibara Jr. to address the societal conflict, Alamada launched several peace-building practices that would aim to effectively settle long-time issues and continuous best practices among the community. Throughout conflicts mitigation approach, together with the personnel with the Alamada Municipal Police Station, the counterpart from the Army, Philippine Army, barangay officials, Christian Muslim community leaders, and elders went to a peace to evaluate an actual situation in order to decrease the tension and put end to the aggressiveness and violence reaction of both parties to avoid further escalation of the armed conflicts. And because of this, as a result, there were 18 until 21 clans conflict were settled, and one of these oldest clan conflict in the municipality had been preserved for 50 years. And in that picture, that is the Zone of Peace in Alamada. So every year, Alamada celebrate Week of Peace in commitment to promote the region. And thousands of walks of life join the local government call for peace and unity among Christian settlers, Bangsamoro, and Lumad. Now, because of this peace building and there is a moral recovery already and livelihood, now the phase 2 is tourism. That's why in the picture you can see the Asik Falls, which is I already presented last time. Okay, and other than the tourism, there are medical and dental services, agricultural support services, animal branding, and social services. Because peace is already become the culture of every Alamadan. So the moral recovery program, disaster preparedness program, the ecotourism, and School of Peace program. And in the phase 3, okay, now we are in the restorative justice through the iHealth, which stands for infrastructure, health, education, environment, livelihood, and peace and order, which is now in the process of course, this is what we call restorative justice. Now, the restorative justice is a reconciliation with the element of truth, mercy, repentance, and justice among the tribe people of Alamada. We cannot go back, we cannot return lives, we cannot change what is in the past, but we can still restore. Okay, and that is what we call restorative justice. So to continue the Alamada peace journey, the present mayor now, which is with his consent, Honorable Jesus Sakdalan, advocates this iHealth. Okay, as you can see in my screen, there is an infrastructure, there is a health, education, environment, livelihood, and peace and order, which is the priority thrust of the present administration, to live a progressive life towards restorative justice. Restorative justice, as I mentioned, is among our this is repentance or justice among the tribe people of Alamada. But in that I help, one of the very challenging until now is peace and order, because the promotion of peace and order and ensuring of the public safety is one of the biggest challenge of this municipality as always prioritized, because there is a past in this what we call the peace and peace order. So these are the social developmental plan that I help: the infrastructure, the health, education, environment, livelihood, and peace order, where the infrastructure to provide equal access to a quality of safe housing, access road, electricity, water system, drainage system, and the garbage collection. In terms of health, to sustain and continue improvement of delivery of quality basic healthcare services to the community. And in terms of education, to ensure provision of quality education service in the municipality. In terms of environment, to protect the environment and tackle the environmental issues, as well as the need to sustain developmental and growth. And in terms of livelihood, to provide a sustainable livelihood assistance program for OSY parents or OSY and CL, etc. And peace and order, to kick and maintain the internal peace and order in the community. So all of this I help, the social developmental plan, the culture of peace is incorporated in each program. Now, there are, of course, issues and concerns. Based on the ecological profile, an analysis was conducted to prioritize significant issues and concern affecting the development of municipality of Alamada. To better dissect the current reality, these are segregated into 5 thematic areas that characterize in the municipality of Alamada: economic, social, infrastructure, environment, and development administration. Now, for the purpose of this international or public health bioethics conference, I focus only on one area, because if I will present all the areas, and then I will end up maybe until midnight discussing it. So I will just focus, since our topic is more on the health concern, I will focus on the social developmental issues in the municipality of Alamada in terms of health. Now, 5 up to 10% or 28.43% gap in the delivery and implementation of basic health care services. So this means that in the current situation, 28.43 of the health services are still needed to be implemented and delivered in the community. This is due to the insufficient budget of procurement of medical supplies and medicine, lacking of additional facilities, and lack of additional health manpower. Another factor that would be difficult terrain and the peace and order situation in some barangays. And the other one is occurrence of 28.46% of home deliveries. In recent health data review, there are still pregnant women who give birth in home, which comprises the 28.43% of the total women who gave birth in the municipality. Traditionally, customs and belief had a great effect for women giving birth at home, especially with our IPs or indigenous people. Another is the distance of our barangays from the nearest health facility. Continued practice of hilot or massage or traditional birth attendance also contributed to this health gap. The lack of skills of some health workers also affect that. This is why the need training is vital. Facilities are also important because some barangays health stations are incomplete in terms of construction, dilapidated or needs renovation. The absence of birthing home in a clustered catching barangays and some health facilities need improvement. 4% or 7.22 of the households still with no access to safe and potable water supply. So this is one of the problem. In our municipality, there are still 4% of the household which do not have access of safe and potable water supply. Safe and potable water is a vital of daily activities of every community. As we evaluate, some of do not have access to safe and potable water supply is due to poor maintenance of their existing water supply and the distance from the source to them. And another one is the 18% or 13.59 of households do not have the sanitary toilet. So you can see it in the province, in the municipality don't have sanitary toilet. This is one of the contributing factor of some emerging and re-emerging diseases. Some says that sanitary toilet is not of their priority. The lack of right information of the importance of the sanitary toilet also contributes, as well as the insufficient budget of fabrication of toilet bowls is also factor and being not of the priority in the barangay level. Malnutrition prevalence rate. We have also a problem here, and based on the regional national situation analysis of Region 12, Alamada ranked 14 to 15 in terms of magnitude of malnutrition in Cotabato Province out of 17 municipalities in the city. Insufficient of blood supplies. The national government has instituted a program that be dubbed in the National Voluntary Blood Services. 4% or 7 sorry. Okay, lack of health manpower. In the recent development of health guidance, also based on the population additional manpower strongly needed to deliver better quality health services. And there is what we call the occurrence of mentally challenged clients and lack of case holding facility. So the national government has instituted a program that is now the National Voluntary. So the recent Department of Health guidelines is also based on the population, additional manpower, strongly to a better quality health care services. And in terms of occurrence mental challenge, client and lack of case holding facility, mental health is an integral component of the total health. Lack of community-based drug testing. So the Survey Commission on Drug Board or DDB estimate that 4.8 million Filipinos aged 10 to 69 years old use illegal drugs at least once in their lives. In Alamada, there are several individuals who have been put into jail due to drug trade and those who have been enjoying the petty fulfillment of drugs, especially this one in your the marijuana, or they call it five fingers. So in some country there are already medicine, but here in the Philippines, especially in our town, well, of course, that is still illegal. Lack of animal bite treatment center. According to WHO, animal bites are a significant cause of morbidity and mortality worldwide. And prevalence of teenage pregnancy. Alamada is noted that it's about 182 cases, or 11% of women aged 10 to 19 years old get pregnant. Okay, teen pregnancy carry extra health risks not only to the mother but also to the baby. Risks for the baby included premature birth and low birth weight. Incident of STI, HIV, AIDS, and cases. The increased incident of STI-related diseases in our municipality is alarming, and it encompasses all group and gender. This is due to the lack of access to right information and service and lacking of funding health facilities. Lack of diabetic and hypertension club and increasing cases and communicable and not fully functional disease surveillance unit. All of these, all of those are encountered in terms of this problem of health in Alamada. Now I'll just show you the gap matrix. Okay, some of these I mentioned already. So the current gap is 71.59, or this is the gap, the current reality. Okay, in the that I mentioned a while ago. So there are still gaps. Okay, in this healthcare. Okay. Likewise, okay, the current reality. Well, I can say that it's more than 50%, but of course we need to still. Okay, because this is we need to still develop this one because this is a health concern. okay, in terms of gap, no holding facilities, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I mentioned some of this already. Okay, I just show you the table. Okay. Now, what are now these maybe the looking forward on this problem of health? So the objective and the target is to strengthen effort to the improvement of people's health for the attainment of quality, equity, and equity in healthcare, to uplift the health status of the community, especially in hard to reach areas, through improving accessibility to health services. And there are some specific: to conduct regular barangay health services, to improve maternal neonatal child health, nutrition services, to be able to increase immunization coverage, improve environmental sanitation program services, to decrease the prevalent rate, to increase the voluntary blood donors, to be able to sustain family planning program and services, to be able to establish the regional hospital unit based on the animal bite center, based on the drug testing center, establish holding area facility to acute psychiatric unit, to be able to functionally the wellness center, okay, and then establish adolescents friendly health clinic or teen center, strengthen HTI, HIV, AIDS initiatives, to sustain the functionality of municipality epidemiology rather, and sustain surveillance unit, which is MESO officer, to intensify the non-communicable disease control program, the functionality of Sweetheart Club of barangay level. Now, as a result, the sincerity of the local government of Alamada to promote peace through the program shows that the present restorative justice, because as I mentioned, in every program there is a culture of peace, there is a peace incorporated. It is reconciliation with the elements of truth, mercy, repentance, and justice among the tribe people. Because if there is no peace, all of these programs of the local government will be impossible. So the advocate of this iHealth, which stands for the infrastructure, again, health, education, environment, livelihood, and peace, and other, most especially health, which provide hope to Alamajan to live healthy and progressive life. And because of that, they will become also reasonable and ethical towards others. So with that, thank you very much, and good night or good evening to everyone, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. So yes, it's open for questions, and peace is a fundamental bioethical issue and a public health issue as well. I'd like to open for questions and comments from anyone, please.
Good evening, Daryl.
Good evening, Ryan.
Yeah, one approach of the Philippine government is called the all of nation approach, and part of this is this anti-insurgency campaign of the government, which utilizes a big funding for infrastructure in order to lure the rebels to surrender. This is a general situation when it comes to the problem of peace in the Philippines. I'd like to ask Mark what is his opinion about this approach of the government. Does he think that this is effective, or is he critical of this insofar as many cost-oriented groups are also critical of this approach, as seen that is intruding into the lives, for instance, of indigenous peoples? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mabolok, for that question. Actually, in our hometown, and of course, I in Alamada, North Cotabato, the Christian believes in that government rules or government policies. Okay, the Christian follows that rules and policies. The Christian, all of that Republic Act followed by Christians because they are afraid of laws. But in our Christian, in our Muslim brothers and sisters and Lumads, they have their own traditions. Okay, that is why in the peace building in Alamada, okay, there is what we call the 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 dialogue, as I mentioned earlier a while ago. Dialogue is very important because the tradition of our brothers and sisters and Muslim is different from the laws of the land. Okay, sometimes and most of them, and according to one of their leaders, okay, they don't follow the rules because that is not their tradition at all. So that's the reason. The only way is to understand. That's why in my maybe in the future, my third paper will talk about these traditions, and I will go back to this tradition one by one, because as I've experienced it, and as I asked my the author of this culture piece in our hometown, the only way to understand their culture is to go to their communities, because well, it's very hard to go to their communities and talk to them, but this is very important, because to know their ways, their tradition, and to understand it. That's why the Rido in Mindanao only settled. I mentioned there are 21 Rido, or conflict, land conflict, clan conflict rather, okay, or Rido, settled because of this traditional way of settling their grievances, okay, between Muslim to Muslim, or between their tradition and between the Christians. So that's why maybe for now I will not I cannot give the entire maybe answer, but my third paper is focusing on that tradition to understand why some of them don't follow. Maybe some of them are already follow the laws of the land, but they have still this kind of tradition that we need to respect. That is why one of the challenge, I just talked to the author of this culture piece, and one of the project that we need to inculcate, or to need to dig down, is this tradition. Okay, why they are focused on this tradition and they believe in this tradition, okay, rather than the laws of the land that we have right now. I hope that I answer somehow your question,
Uh,
Doc.
I apologize, but what I'm trying to ask is, I think there's no question, even if one belongs to an IP community, that we have to follow the rules of the land, because
Okay.
these are constitutionally mandated, and so it doesn't excuse them. For instance, with respect to, say, policy that government would like to implement. So I was asking if what do you think is the, say, reaction of people, for instance, in your place, when it comes to this, say, program of the government. They call it the whole of nation approach, which means that you have to sustain the economic, the social, the cultural, and the political lives of the people. And it's not a question whether it is against one's communal identity, but it's a question of, do you believe that these programs can help, or do you think that these programs are actually inimical to their culture? That's what I wanted to know. And I think it's important, so that both the government, as you mentioned, and say these communities can have some kind of dialogue, and can live in peace, and not see each other as, say, adversaries in the long run. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc, now for that. Actually, that is why I'm challenged, or I'm very excited to present this paper, the cultural piece, because in our place, in Alamada, actually 10 years ago, that was the struggle of the government to talk to these to the brothers and sisters in Muslim, or the Lumads, or the IPs, because they have their own tradition and beliefs that I mentioned a while ago. But um, they actually, the culture of peace realized, there is a realization of the culture of peace because of this dialogue, and our brothers and sisters, Muslim and Lumads, okay, because of this dialogue, they understand now the laws of the government, okay, without without giving them or a problem in their traditions. That is why those Rido, okay, settled by the government itself, 21 Rido, and those are from the dialogues, okay, by their traditions, and of course by the laws of the land, provided by the laws of the land. So for me, I'm living a witness of that, because uh, most of these, well, I could say that most of these Muslim leaders are former rebels. Okay, they're against the government. But the moment they understand, okay, this predicament of the government or these policies of the government through this dialogue, actually they adhere to that. And now, that's why I'm saying that Alamada is now in peace journey, working hand in hand with Muslim, Christians, and the Lumans. Well, there are some problems, but that is one of the challenge that a peace and order. But of course, now there are, well, in the journey of the peace, Alamada peace journey is now ongoing to the restorative justice. Like,
Okay. Maraming salamat, Mark. Thank you, Darren.
thank you very much, Doc.
Thank you. Yes, there of course is in the discussion. There is a question when you find a law that you find is not appropriate, even if it's in the Constitution. If you didn't agree to that Constitution, and if you find it the law, then I guess that's the reason why some people decide not to follow the law, or why we have a constitutional court, and eventually why we, in many countries, have coup d'etat because they disagree with the constitution or the government. Of course, not to encourage any such movements, but it is part of the informed choices that people will make around the world, and sometimes it is a challenge. That's why having a neutral forum for making peace can be very critical, because there are some places, and some laws, and especially we'll find some laws that people fundamentally disagree with, and rather than breaking up the whole country with a war, negotiation may be important. Who else would like to make some comments or questions?
This was like 30 years ago, before the actual enactment of the Autonomous Region for Muslim Mindanao law. And of course, this was because the minorities in the Philippines, they were not actually subjected to the effects of colonialism from Spain. So this actually separated a lot of the development pathways of the indigenous communities in the Philippines. So I think maybe that was like part of what was being said about some of these foreign influences. So for example, like the advent of communist thought is really more of a foreign concept introduced in the Philippines, but eventually gained traction because of the injustices that continued from the time of the feudalistic society from the Spanish colonization.
Yeah, thank you, April. Any reflections or comments?
Daryl,
Yes,
I'd like to commend the paper presented by Sir Mark, because, it's really challenging to implement programs leading towards the culture of peace, because, this culture of peace had been the advocacy of the government, specifically here in this part of Mindanao. Personally, I grew up in Maguindanao myself, and I have seen how Muslims, Christians, and indigenous people actually have assimilated. Although conflicts also occurred, or conflicts also happened among these people, however, we just tend to understand the culture, because when we speak of culture, that includes all the elements, all the components that compose the way of life of these people. And that is when we understand how they actually live or how they actually live up their life, and how they actually um, you know, implement policies in their own level, which are sometimes quite different from the way we implement our policies as governed by the, the laws and legislations being introduced to us. However, if we foster understanding among ourselves, we were able to survive assimilating with one another. So I lived in that place for 20 years, and I have understood the culture. I have encountered family feud, family conflicts, but I really commend the actions taken by the Alamada government, the local government of Alamada, in resolving family feud or family conflicts, because it's really challenging, it's really difficult to reunite families who have actually been in conflict for several generations already. And I have encountered such issues as well, because our place is located in an area where we are surrounded by Muslims, and the other side is inhabited by the Tiduray indigenous people. So it's like we just need to assimilate with them. Some of the members of my family have been victims also of these conflicts, and there's no law governing in our place. It's like when you have committed something wrong against an influential family, just you just have to be prepared. You just need to be ready if they're going to take revenge with you. But one good thing is that, especially among the Muslims, they do not involve women. They still respect women, and they exclude women when it comes to revenge. So, the family conflict or the family feud will really be brought to the next generation. And yeah, resolving conflicts among Rido, we call that Rido among the Muslims, is really difficult. So I really admire the local government of Alamada for doing that, for successfully resolving conflict, and still continue with their journey towards that culture of peace, despite the fact that Alamada is still inhabited by some groups, some groups that are actually armed, and that are actually against the laws, and the rules of the government, because they have also their own doctrines, they have also their own principles on how governance should happen in their locality. So well, Sir Mark, probably you still need to continue your study and continue the journey towards that culture of peace. And probably, if you will become successful with that, well, we could actually recommend to some of the local government units to pattern also their practice on their journey towards the culture of peace with your own framework of doing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lovely, with that commendation. Actually, I posted in the chat box the link for the Alamada Peace Journey. That was 10 years ago, headed or initiated by the local government. And until now, they are still initiated that one because some of the not I agree, some of our brothers and sisters in that place or in parts of Mindanao are not amenable with the government policies and rules, but again the local government always initiate to provide this tribe people, okay, the equal rights for to live, so that they will understand also that they have importance, okay, because one of their argument always is that they don't have place in Mindanao, or they don't have importance in their home in our hometown. So that's why it will result to a conflict, because there is a misunderstanding in the group. That is why my next paper will be more on the understanding the tribal culture, why there are conflicts or there are problems between the laws of the land and the traditions, so that the elders of these Muslims or tribe people or the indigenous will tell us, okay, or we can document that and tell us that this is our tradition and this is why we fight for our traditions and fight for our rights, okay, in Mindanao. And of course, some of those are already documented, but this project is more on the cultural, because it's very difficult to talk to these leaders, actually their heads, okay, not only their imams but their heads, or their what you call this, the one that they really respected, because the only thing that you can talk to those leaders is to go to their place. And if you are a Christian, that is very challenging step, because if their culture will not welcome you, there will be no dialogue in the process. So that is why one of the author of this culture of peace already, I talked to him already, and he said that that is one of the biggest project, okay, to talk to these leaders, so that finally we will have a documentation to understand their culture in the sense of Alamada version, and we can share it to the other municipalities and for the culture of peace propagation in the Mindanao. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any final questions or comments? It's an interesting discussion. Thank you. So, sustainable development includes, of course, peace. War is not a sustainable option, even though it's been a feature for the majority of years of our existence as human beings. We've had wars. Some of you will be familiar with one of the quotes of one of our colleagues, Justif, who says, well, he's British, and I think Britain's been at war for something like 399 of the last 400 years, somewhere in the world. So the actual norm, the state is, for many nations, is actually to be at war. And so this is sadly a situation that affects many places, although many of these wars are fought nowadays off the soils of the major countries. They externalize the wars. We can see the consequences of these wars still.
Alamada is a first-class municipality in the province of North Cotabato, Philippines. It is highly elevated and is characterized by rolling hilly terrain. Owing to its geographic and favorable climate, Alamada is best suited for livestock and other agricultural production. its agricultural products, the place is abundant with natural resources such as manganese. Alamada's growth is hampered by armed conflicts.
Binibigyan ng respeto ang tradisyon ng kanyang kapwang tribo.
Kay kamo lang, wala mo igigunita. Di kan karon. Dua ka semana na lang natong limit sa inyo. Pag di mo muhawa, magkagubo.
May mga grupo na sumalakay. Mga taong galing sa ibang lugar, minsan niaangkin nila ang hindi sa kanilang lupa.
Kaya nila ito istorya. Hindi na nato patakuon.
Silang awayan dahil kahit yung magkakapatid ay patayan din yung minamana sa kanila ng lolo o sa ilang mga tatay.
Ang dugay na tani sa kulita, lalagwa. Istoryahan na natong tama na. Kusog video. Istoryahan na kasultan. Maayos na ni tama na.
Naangkin niya ang lupa ng kanyang kapatid. So doon talaga nagmumula
unity.
Currently, the Tri-People Consultative Service has resolved several family feuds in the area.
Madalas nangyari dito sa mag-asawa, kaya hindi gusto sa mga
Siguro,
parents.
gusto magkipaiwalay. Ibalik mo siguro yung doon namin. Dili, pwede. Kami pa na argabyado. Iuli pa na mo, madupli pa ang among bayad. Yun ang nakasad sa atin batas. Kaya, kung gusto makipag-iwalay, ibalik mo yung sa akin.
Na binawi yung tinatawag na dure, yung kadalasan na pinag-awayan yun.
Sa atin. Kung gusto mo ng ganon, sige gawin mo kung anong gusto mo. Wala akong pakialam kung ano man ang pinagsasabi mo. Basta magulo na magulo. Gagawin natin kung gulo.
Pero nang dumating itong paghanap ng kapayapaan, ay maraming mga redo na naayos nitong gawaing kapayapaan.
So ibig sabihin holistic siya ang approach. Na medical outreach, na mga program sa DSWD, o tanang program, as I should say, no, tanang program atog yung ipatigayon, pinagi ng munisipyo sa barangay.
And has helped in spearheading peace dialogues and negotiations not only in Alamada but in nearby municipalities as well. A series of programs anchored on peace was also created in order to help alleviate poverty and avoid armed conflict. Some of these are the Municipio sa Barangay Program, Moral Recovery Program, Disaster Preparedness Program, Ecotourism Program, and the School of Peace Program.
A School of Peace is actually what we are dreaming of, kung saan ang
Dealer Friedensdienst or Civil Peace Service.
The Evangelische Entwicklung consistent municipality having a peace lens in all their programs. We contribute towards the facilitation of peace in the community through seminars, peace education, conduct of peace camps, and leadership training. They try in every activity that they do, all the services and programs of the local government unit, they are very consistent in their objective, having a peace lens in their program.
So kini siya naging epektibo kay so far adunang datay at least sa atong panungkulan 18 or more than that ng mga redo or warring family nga na atong na settle using the mechanism of alternative dispute resolution.
18 redo ang nasitel dahil lamang sa paggawa at paghahanap ng kapayapaan dito sa Bayang Alamada.
To further its peace-building advocacy, the people of Alamada adopted the Kapayapaan tungo sa Kaunlaran, or Peace Towards Progress motto. This mirrors their unyielding commitment for peace and progress. Despite religious and cultural differences, they share the same dreams and aspirations. This has opened their hearts and minds to work hard towards